In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. On earth, he created man in his own image and likeness and gave him dominion to subdue it. And on the seventh day, it is finished.
Hello again, this is Tony Stitt, and welcome to another edition of the It Is Finished New Covenant Concepts teaching series. My name is Tony Stitt, and I hope what I've taught the last few weeks have been informative and even challenging to you. As I mentioned last week, we talked about Adam and the fall, and that God needed a man to redeem the world back to himself. No, that's not what I want to say. Hello again, this is Tony Stitt, and welcome to another edition of the It Is Finished New Covenant Concepts series. I hope what I've taught up to this point has been informative and even challenging to you and regarding your beliefs of the New Covenant. And what I'm going to do today, I'm going to talk where I left off last time as about Abram, because Abram is a very important figure regarding the New Covenant. You may say why. The New Covenant is based on an Abrahamic covenant, the type of covenant that God gave with Abram. So I'm going to go into some details about that, and generally speaking, in most of the areas, but just to point out some things regarding the covenant that God made with Abram, to how that equates to the New Covenant as well. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. In Genesis, the 12th chapter, God called Abram and says, Abram, I want you to leave your kindred, I want you to leave your country and your father's house. And I'm going to bless you, and you will be a blessing. Then all the nations of the earth will be blessed because of you, and I will make your name great. So think about this for a moment. We assume sometimes, and maybe oftentimes, that God spoke out of heaven with an audible voice saying, "Thus saith the Lord," and do this, do that. And it's true in some cases. When we're going to get to that, in some subsequent sessions. But you have to think about these men in the scriptures as regular men, just like us. They didn't have any special abilities. They believed like us. They understood like us. They had feelings like us. They were just men like us. And they, of course, had the same nature that Adam had after the fall. So we need to really give these guys really some credit here, because they walked with God. Of course, not seeing God, or even understanding who this person really is, but they moved in faith, believing in what he said. So think of this guy, Abram. God said to Abram, he says, leave your kin, leave your country, and your father's house. Now, would you do that? Would you leave the safety and inheritance of your father and your kindred, all the things you've been accustomed to for the years, and go to a place where this person saying to you that he's going to show you? Because he didn't give them the details. He said, I'm going to show you. This is speaking of the future. So that showed faith that Abram had to God. So, because that was a big deal. I'm not sure if I could do that. But I'm sure what he was told intrigued Abram, because he said that I'm going to bless you and you will be a blessing and your name is going to be great. So he fed him some information that he was pretty excited about, obviously. And he made that move. And also in that same narrative, it says here, and those who bless you, I will bless, and those who curse you, I will curse. So let me ask you this. What was the criteria for God doing what he said? Because God said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And he's just told Abram, he just said, you leave and I'm going to do this stuff. So he did not mention anything about Abram's behavior, or he had to do something in order to make these blessings come to pass, other than the fact to just go when he said to go. And that's important, because this covenant was a covenant that God made to Abram, and not Abram making to God. So he just said go, and Abram went. So that obligated God to do what he said. But of course, that was the point of God saying it in the first place, because he saw Abram's heart, and that this is the guy that I can work with. And kind of backtrack a little bit. When Adam did what he did, there was an issue with his thought process, and there were some issues going on inside of him. And I'm going to say it like this: the kingdom of God, as far as Adam walking in, it was lost in a sense. And when I say kingdom, I'm looking at it like two words: the king's domain, or God's authority in someone's life. Because the kingdom of God is not a place. It's not something that you see or you feel or anything like that. It's actually a state of being in God, and is giving the king's domain over your life. And Adam pretty much lost that. So God wanted to get that back into the world, and he found Abram to do so. And with that, again, have Abram to do it, why didn't God just wipe the slate clean and do it all different? The reason is because God gave earth to man, and through a man, he needed to work his redemption or reconciliation plan. Of course, God knows what he's doing, and he understood from the beginning how this was going to be, but he involved man in this equation. And that's a beautiful privilege for us, folks, that God would involve us and make us part of his plan. So moving forward here, Abram left, and he left with obviously some things for sustenance, and his wife and Lot. If you go ahead and read the story, you can check that out. And there was an incident that occurred where there was a famine in the land, and Abram said, I got to go to Egypt, because there was obviously sustenance there. So he went there, but he said to his wife, Sarai, that, hey, when we go there, say you're my sister and you're not my wife, because these guys are going to kill me if they know you're my wife and take you from me. Think about that for a moment. Abram was scared that he was going to die, even with the promise of God that it was given to him. And what happened in that situation? Sarai was taken, and Abram was taken care of by Pharaoh, because, hey, this is your sister. Thank you for letting me have your sister, so on and so forth. But Pharaoh was cursed. And why was that? Is because God promised Abraham, those who bless you, I will bless, and those who curse you, I will curse. So who was the violator? Who was the offender here? Pharaoh didn't realize what he did, but Abram lied. He deceived this guy. And did God reprimand Abram? No, that wasn't part of the deal. Because God said, who curse you, I will curse. So God was fulfilling what he said. And once he called Abram, he said, hey man, what you doing, man? This is going on in my life and in my kingdom. Hey, take your wife. I didn't know, so you deceived me. Why did you do this to me? So God was fulfilling what he did, or what he said to Abram, and it wasn't based on Abram's behavior. And there was about 24 years later, another situation, it happened, the same thing. God said that, no, not God, but he was in another king's area, and he took his wife, for the same reason, because Sarah obviously was fine, and she was taken, and his house was cursed. I think it was Abimelech at the time, and of course Abimelech, whoa, what's going on? Because God appeared to him in a dream and said, "What's the deal here?" So again, Abraham had to say, "Oh, yeah, that's my wife." And did Abram get reprimanded by God? No. But God again said, who bless you, I will bless, and who curse you, I will curse. So God was fulfilling his covenant with Abram. And again, it was not based on Abram's performance. And that's all the time I got for this particular point. But I'm going to continue on next week with that particular story. So this is Tony Stitt, and this is finished. And it is finished. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.